Once upon a time, in a small village deep in Igboland, lived a poor orphan boy named Chike. His life was marked by hardship and loneliness. Orphaned at a young age, Chike had no family to care for him, so he survived by doing odd jobs for the villagers. He mended fences, fetched water, and ran errands, anything that could earn him a little food or money. He worked tirelessly, often under the blazing sun or in the cold rain, just to survive. But life was not kind to Chike. Many villagers took advantage of his situation, refusing to pay him for his hard labor. "What can you do about it?" they would sneer. "You have no one to speak for you. You're just an orphan after all." These words stung deeply, but Chike had no choice but to swallow the pain and move on. With no parents to defend him, he was at the mercy of those around him. Despite their cruelty, Chike never allowed himself to be consumed by bitterness. He believed that one day things would get better. With each passing day, as he toiled for hours on end, Chike held on to a faint glimmer of hope. Hope that one day his hard work would pay off, and he would no longer be looked down upon as just the poor orphan. But in the meantime, all he could do was to endure. As time passed, Chike found himself increasingly isolated. The villagers not only refused to pay him fairly, but also shunned him because of his poverty and unkempt appearance. His tattered clothes and dirty hands made him an easy target for insults. "You useless, frustrated orphan," they would call out whenever they saw him. "Nothing good would ever come out of you." The harsh word of the villagers weighed heavily on Chike, but he never allowed their cruelty to crush his spirit. Each insult only made him more determined to prove them wrong. Every time they humiliated him, he silently promised himself that he would one day rise above his circumstances. Through the weight of rejection felt unbearable at times, Chike kept working, doing whatever small task he could find. He believed that success was the best response to those who doubted him. Even when the villagers mocked him, he found strength in their words, turning their insult into motivation. Chike knew deep in his heart that his destiny was not to remain a poor orphan forever. He was determined to change his fate no matter how long it took. Chike often thought of his late parents, remembering the lesson they had imparted to him in their short time together. One of the most important things they had told him was, "People may reject you in times of difficulty, but God will never abandon you. Always pray to Him and He will guide you." Those words echoed in his heart, especially during his darkest moments. One evening, after a particular hard day of work and insult, Chike knelt by his small mat in his makeshift hut and began to pray. "Spirit of my father," he whispered, "would you abandon me too as my villagers has? Arise and bless me, for I have no one else but you." Tears filled his eyes as he poured out his heart, asking for divine help to change his life. Unknown to many, Chike's late parents had left him a small piece of land near the riverside. The land had always been of little use to him, as he lacked the resources to develop it. Yet, in his prayers, he began to ask for a blessing, not knowing how or when it would come. Still, he held on to his faith, believing that one day God would answer him. And then something miraculous began to unfold. One day, an electricity company arrived in the village searching for a perfect location to establish a major project. They surveyed many lands, but none seemed suitable for their needs. The electricity company continued their survey of the village, but each land they inspected fell short of their requirements. Some were too rocky, others too close to neighboring farms. Just when they were about to give up, they came across Chike's riverside land. To their surprise, it was exactly what they were looking for. A perfect spot with enough space, accessibility, and proximity at the river. The project manager, intrigued by the land, inquired about its owner, one of the villagers. Eager to provide information, responded dismissively, "Oh, that land belongs to a useless orphan named Chike. He's just a poor boy who works for us from time to time. I doubt he even knows what to do with such land." The manager's interest was piqued. He had to meet this Chike. If the land was truly his, perhaps they could come to an agreement and acquire it for their project. The next step was to find the young man who owned what they could be their next business venture. With the villagers' directions, the project manager made his way to a farm where Chike was at work, toiling under the sun. When the manager arrived, he saw Chike, sweat dripping from his brow, as he harvested crops for a small payment. The manager approached him and introduced himself. "I've been told that you own a piece of land by the riverside," the manager said. "We've surveyed it and it's perfect for our company's new project. We would like to buy it from you if you are willing to sell." Chike, wide-eyed and stunned, replied, "Yes, it's my parents' land. They left it for me when they passed away, but I've never been able to do anything with it." The manager smiled. "Well, we are prepared to offer you 100 million naira for the land, if you are ready to sell." Chike could hardly believe his ears. 100 million naira? It felt like a dream, a far-off fantasy. Never in his wildest imagination did he think he could be faced with such an opportunity. After a moment of hesitation, Chike realized that with his current situation, he would never be able to build anything on that land himself. It would take him years, even decades, of back-breaking labor just to lay a single brick. "I will sell it," finally said. "I will sell it," Chike finally said, his voice trembling. The next day, Chike and the project manager met to sign the paperwork with the help of a lawyer. The agreement was drawn up, and once Chike placed his signature on the papers, the money was transferred to his account. Chike stood in disbelief as the lawyer confirmed the transfer. In that single moment, his entire life changed. The boy who had been rejected, insulted, and treated as nothing more than a poor orphan was now a millionaire. He felt overwhelmed by the height of it all, as if it were too good to be true. Chike muttered to himself, "So, I'm now a millionaire?" It was as if the world had shifted in his favor overnight. His prayer has been answered in a way he could never have imagined. God did not abandon me after all. Just a few days ago, he had been a poor orphan, shunned by the villagers and treated as less than nothing. But now he was a millionaire. It felt like a dream, and for days he walked around in a daze, unsure of how to process this sudden change in his life. But Chike was not one to sit idle by. He knew he had been given an opportunity of a lifetime, and he wasn't going to waste it. 1 year later, Chike wisely invested his money, starting several businesses both within the village and beyond. He opened a large farm, a retail shop, and even established a transport company. His businesses thrived. Chike's name became known not just in his village but across the region. More than that, Chike never forgot where he came from. He knew the pain of being an orphan, of being rejected and looked down upon. So he built a large orphanage for the orphans. He gave them food, shelter, and even education, ensuring they would have a brighter future than he had known. Chike also created a scholarship program for the less privileged children, allowing them to go to school without worrying about fees. He made it his mission to lift up those who had been downtrodden, just as he has been once. Meanwhile, the villagers who had once mocked him were left in shock and regret. The same people who had refused to pay him for his work now lined up in his businesses, hoping to be hired. The same mouths that had once insulted him were now singing his praises. Chike treated them kindly, but he never forgot how they had once turned their backs on him. One day, as Chike stood before his mansion overlooking the village, he smiled to himself. "So, I am now a millionaire," he whispered, the same word he had spoken the day his life changed forever. But now, those words had new meanings. He wasn't just a millionaire in wealth, he was rich in purpose, in the lives he had changed, and in the joy he had found by giving back. And so Chike's story became one that could be told for generations, a story of how a poor orphan rose from nothing, overcame rejection, and turned his life into a beacon of hope for others. Chike proved that no matter how humble your beginnings, with faith, hard work, and perseverance, you could rise above any challenges.